What is up, my friends? Welcome back to another video, and today we are looking at part 3 of the Disney Medley breakdown, and specifically we're going to be taking a look at the string orchestration. So this is one that I've been looking forward to showing you because I love arranging for the strings. I literally do this almost every day for my clients and myself, and so I'm pretty comfortable with it, and I want to share with you some of the tips and tricks and techniques that kind of went into arranging this medley. And I'm super excited to share it with you. And before we do that, though, in case you don't have my guide called 4 Secrets to Lush String Writing, I want to give that to you because these are 4 concepts that I keep in my mind every time I'm writing for the strings and arranging for them. They go over things like the harmonic series, how to voice them properly, ranges and stuff like that. So it's all condensed into a very digestible, easy to read format. If you want to download that, it's totally free. Just click the link below. It'll take you straight there. And it's my thank you to you for checking out this video today. One of my favorite guides for sure. Anyway, let's kind of dive in. So we kind of talked about in the previous video how I like to use Cinematic Studio strings as my core template when it comes to just workhorse string writing because the legato is so beautiful. It's very playable, and I personally like to adjust to the delay. I don't really mind the fact that the legato transitions are come in a little bit late. It's all part of the performance anyway, but nudging the notes back or putting on a delay plugin, whatever. That's just part of the process, in my opinion. But in terms of how like the voicing and everything is laid out, I usually try to accomplish this just using my CSS stuff. So if I just solo these up, we can have a listen to kind of what that sounds like. You'll notice here that the only MIDI I have is the CSS Violins 1 for like mixing reasons, but everything else has been bounced to audio. So CSS Violins 2 all the way down to the Vivaldi tremolos, these are all audio files. I've also brought down the MIDI files here so you can see what I've done with the voicing. So see here, so far we only have Violins 1, we have Violins 2, violas, and celli. Okay, so now we bring in the celli for a little bit more extra depth, right? This is the whole new world. So the celli's moving a little bit more because they are kind of flexible. Now we bring in the basses for the chorus. And let's add in the soaring strings as well. Those have a beautiful sound. They just gel really beautifully on top of Cinematic Studio strings. But essentially they're just doubling in unison. So you can hear the strings are doing the majority of the work here. Right. So usually Violins 1 are doing the core melody. Violins 2 is usually doubling, not doubling, but harmonizing the Violins 1 a third or fourth below, just to give it those chord tones. The basses or the celli are typically doing the harmonic foundation. If the basses are doing the harmonic foundation, then the cellos or the celli are playing that harmonic foundation up an octave, or they're playing a more independent line that performs counter melodies in between the other strings. The violas have several functions for me. They can either do another harmonic line underneath Violins 1 and 2, or they can do a more independent line like a counter melody, kind of like what the celli are doing. So it really depends on every single context that you're in, but generally here, I've kept it more stable throughout. So let's add in the other parts of the strings as well. Let me put in the rest here. See if we have anything else. Oh, you also see I have the basses pizzicato, which we talked about from Berlin strings, and so that gives a really nice light sound. You hear the doo, doo, right at the very bottom there. You hear that do 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 do, that little pattern there. I'm kind of just using that as a little playful nature to outline the bass. So relatively quiet because the woodwind has the melody. If you can just listen to it. You hear the flute, right? So the strings are just providing the harmonic foundation here. Kind of good voice leading. Then string run going into the chorus. I'm mainly doing the playable runs using the legato transitions from the orchestral string runs library. So here, let me just show you what that sounds like. So where are the runs? Here we go. The violin runs here. So we start right here. Right, so I can show you that MIDI data. So I like kind of going up and down in the middle of the passage. Kind of going into the downbeat, going up and down, so a little bit of intensity, going down, and then going back into that section. So let's hear that part one more time, but within context of everything. Down, back up. Up first, back down. And same idea here, down, back up. Runs here. See, so like as the harmonic speed builds up, like as the chords change faster, it also gives me justification to just let the strings go forth and just, you know, take over, and then let the string run just do its thing. And these last couple runs sound like this. Oops. I should probably solo the correct track. Let me see. There we go. And yeah, that last one ended on a D flat because they're going to a D flat major chord there. So that's how I kind of orchestrated the string runs there. And then finally we have the Cinematic Studio solo strings, just outlining that detail a little bit more. So you hear it's kind of quiet, but it just layers in with the ensemble strings a little bit, just to give a tiny bit more definition. Okay, and then in When She Loved Me, so far it's just piano and English horn. In the second half, I want to introduce a little bit more warmth. So you bring in the strings. So yeah, let's have a listen here. So we basically have violins 1, 2, violas, and cello. And then we have the bassist pizzicato. Something important to note here is I'm trying to stay out of the way of the English horn's range. So these notes are higher up. These are above middle C for sure, like an octave or above or so, above middle C. Whereas the English horn melody is around middle C, slightly higher, but I'm really trying to stay out of the way so the English horn has room to breathe and do its thing. That bassist pizzicato again, just lightening things up, but you know, it still gives you the harmonic foundation. And now, lead into the chorus. Can you feel the love tonight? Let's have a listen to just violins 1 and 2. So you hear how they're pretty much harmonized together. Then the violas fill in the other chord tone, forming the whole triad. Then we have the cello doing a lot of the harmonic stuff. Still doing the strings, but now we have the brass doing more of the Let It Go melody, and the horns, trumpet. So it's mainly these 5 instruments only playing here. Leaving some more holes though, letting the brass fill in the rest. And then rest. And now we get into the more exciting part, which is For the First Time in Forever. Okay. So what are we doing here? So violins 1 has this kind of feeling here. Let's have a listen. So I'm literally just doing triplets, triplet, right? Whereas the violins 2, violas, and cello, they're basically their rhythm is a little more subdued. So that kind of looks like this. It's like dun 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 dun. Right. So it's a little bit less complicated, but it complements well with the violins 1. So again, that kind of just sounds like this. So you hear the lower strings, dun, 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 whereas the violin 1, it's playing faster triplets. Then we have the Joshua Bell violin, so let me include all the strings here so you can hear them. Yeah, strings are definitely forming the most of the foundation here, but the Joshua Bell violin required a lot of finessing, as I mentioned previously. Then let the woodwinds take over a little bit. Back into it. Now Joshua Bell violin comes back in, right? So this time, the Joshua Bell violin is being harmonized by the CSSS solo violin as well. So kind of sounds like this. The Joshua Bell violin is definitely stronger, so that one stands out in front. But again, the solo violin below it is just harmonizing like the third below. And then here in the strings, I'm also doubling that. Da, 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 da. And then end. CSS violins 1, just holding a nice long sustained note at the very top there. And then very bare here. Just the flute and the harp this time. So nothing going on here. Strings come in together. And finally. So here we're basically doubling, let me see here, let me get these out. So yeah, violins 1 and 2 are separated in octaves, so really accentuates that melody, brings that out a little farther, especially the higher the violins 1 goes. You probably want it that violins 2 an octave below to just make sure it's still being heard by the listener. You don't want to lose it there, so. Then the violins, cello, and basses are all just harmonizing below that as well. So is the Vista going into, I believe. Then tremolos. And then everything comes up together, back to regular sustains. So let's hear that in context, actually. So flute's still in the lead. Harp leads us into it. The Celeste coming down with the violins 1. Brass take over, string runs, and the string runs here, let me show you what I'm doing there. Sounds like this. So that, if I can find the track, yeah, let's see what that looks like. Kind of looks like. I literally just came up like 2-3 octaves on the C major scale, so that was a lot of fun there. Crescendo into the next part. Now the violins take over again. Violins 1 taking the melody. Violins 2 harmonizing underneath. Violas and cello playing their own counter melodies within. And the Tina legato cello also playing counter melodies as well. Hear that on the left. A little fuller here. So yeah, generally what I'm doing is like, you know, basses on the root, cello, some sort of counter melody, but usually either the third or the fifth, because I want some of that mid-range color there as well. Then the violas, violins 2 and violins 1 are all playing in the triads to fill in the whole entire chord there. See, there are those counter melodies there in the cello. And And the Vista violins are just going super high there because they have a huge range in terms of the notes. And now we die down. And now this is one of my favorite parts of the whole thing, the Beauty and the Beast. So the main melody here is going to be dictated by the cello, and the violins 1 are just providing kind of a background texture. So I'm doing both the Soaring Strings cello and the Cinematic Studio cello. Hear how violins 1 and 2 are harmonizing, whereas the cello are taking the melody. That's the idea there. You can take a look here as well. Now the violas come in for some extra texture. Here, let me show you this part actually. Then I want to bring in the CSS solo violin as well, because that's a beautiful texture that's in the original too. Here we go. Here's the solo violin right here. This is the violin 2, remember, from CSSS. So yeah, cello taking the main part, and then everything else supporting, and then we go into I See the Light. So here I believe I put the melody in the Tina cello here as well, as you can hear it there. So it's basically 2 octaves below the main melody here. Fills everything out nicely. Just piano and flute. And then to finish things off, violins 1. Playing the Beauty and the Beast line. So violins 1 playing the melody, violins 2 harmonizing below. Just like that. Cool. So yeah, I didn't get into every single detail because that would take like hours, but as you can see, the general concept of, the strings taking the main body of the harmony is pretty prevalent for me. And I tend to do this because the strings have such a homogeneous, beautiful texture that can be used in so many situations, really. And just the overall feel of, the violins 1 taking the lead melody most of the time, violins 2 harmonizing below, violas and cello doing independent lines or supporting, either one of the sections, like violas doing an additional harmony line underneath the violins 2 or doing its own counter melody. Cello can do supporting of the basses or performing the melody as well, maybe an octave or 2 below the lead melody or its own independent counter melody as well. Lots of different choices there. Bass is just doing its own, doing the harmonic foundation, which is very important. Though that's basically the core of the music here. And then, these additional patches are there just to layer on top for actual additional texture and detail, right? Some of the solo instruments just, again, provide more detail and provide more counter melodies. And yeah, they're just more for ear candy as well. So yeah, you get a sense of how that works. And yeah, hopefully, if you have any questions, let me know in a comment below. Maybe it's a specific counter melody or a, melody technique, you can let me know. I'd love to kind of help you with that. All right, anyway, in the next video, we're going to talk about the woodwinds. And those are also one of my favorites because I played flute and piccolo in high school, so I do remember a little bit of what that was like. Good times, good memories, but yeah, I'm looking forward to that part as well. So make sure if you don't have the Lush string writing guide yet, download that absolutely free. Just click the link below, it'll take you straight there. And again, it goes over the 4 concepts of string writing that I think are absolutely crucial. So if you keep these in mind, really internalize them and understand them, then it's going to make writing for the strings so much easier. So again, download that, just click the link, it'll take you straight there. You can grab it absolutely free. And it's my thank you to you for checking out this video today. All right, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I'll catch you in the next one. Take care. Bye bye.